At the height of the Cretaceous, the planet was experiencing an era of profound and dynamic transformations, where the land, seas, and air became stages of vibrant and unpredictable evolution. During this extensive period, which spanned tens of millions of years, Earth was a place where climatic conditions varied dramatically, influencing the lives of countless species and shaping the environment in ways that still puzzle scientists today. In a world that boasted scorching temperatures in some regions, especially in the tropics, and milder climates at high altitudes and polar areas, nature seemed to be always changing, masterfully adapting to each new phase of its existence. In this scenario, dinosaurs, imposing and mysterious beings, reached the height of their reign. Contrary to the popular image associated only with the Jurassic period, it was during the Cretaceous that these giants dominated the terrestrial landscape, expanding across continents that, although with different contours from those of today, already showed traces of familiarity. Animals such as the ferocious Tyrannosaurus, the imposing Triceratops, and the agile Velociraptor roamed vast regions, each occupying specific ecological niches and interacting in ways that demonstrated the complexity of an ever-changing ecosystem. These predators and herbivores, often competing for resources, were also part of an intricate food chain, where each choice and adaptation could determine the survival or disappearance of a species. While dinosaurs reigned supreme, other lesser-known but equally fascinating creatures thrived in the shadows of the giants. Small animals that resemble modern mammals had already appeared, presenting a diversity that surprises scholars. Fossil records indicate that these beings, which could have been oviparous or viviparous, developed survival strategies that allowed them to occupy varied spaces, from dense forests to the banks of rivers and lakes. This diversification allowed, even in the face of immense competition from dinosaurs, these small organisms to expand and multiply, setting the stage for a future era where mammals would have their moment of glory. In addition to the reptiles and ancestors of mammals, the Cretaceous skies were dominated by awe-inspiring creatures that defied the imagination. Among them, the pterosaurs, with their wings that extended more than 40 meters, cut through the air with an elegance that contrasted with the brutality of their terrestrial relatives. Although some pterosaur species faced local extinction events, their legacy remains in the traces left in fossils, testaments to an era when the sky was as competitive as the earth. During this period, the first birds also emerged, possessing characteristics that made them appear to be a mix between reptiles and modern birds, with adaptations that indicated the gradual evolution of a new form of life that one day would dominate the skies in an undeniable way. As the kingdom of reptiles and birds unfolded, the planet's flora underwent a silent but transformative revolution. At the beginning of the Cretaceous, landscapes were marked by dense forests of conifers and plants similar to pateridophytes, vestiges of previous times when vegetation was dominated by organisms that reproduced through spores. However, over millions of years, an innovative group of plants, the angiosperms, began to emerge and spread, radically altering the appearance of ecosystems. These primordial flowers, despite their modest appearance, ushered in an era of pollination and cooperation between flora and fauna that would result in an explosion of plant diversity. The transformation of landscapes was not limited to aesthetics. The emergence of angiosperms also drove climate and ecological changes, influencing everything from soil quality to interactions between predators and prey. The ocean scenario, in turn, told a story of intense disputes and adaptations. At sea, creatures that had long adapted to aquatic life found challenges in environments where temperature and salinity varied in surprising ways. Large predators, such as the ancestors of current sharks, and marine reptiles, such as plesiosaurs, coexisted in a delicate balance where each species had its own strategy for capturing food and avoiding predators. During certain periods, geological events and changes in the chemical composition of the oceans caused sudden drops in oxygen levels, leading to the partial extinction of many marine organisms and opening space for new forms of life that took advantage of these vacant niches. As the Cretaceous progressed, the planet showed signs that even the most glorious eras are subject to abrupt and sometimes catastrophic changes. The climate, which varied between hot and cold extremes, also went through periods of warming and cooling that directly influenced the level of the oceans and the formation of new land masses. During periods of intense warming, waters expanded, flooding areas we now know as plains and creating archipelagos that in turn were ideal habitats for smaller species. These floating islands and continents not only altered geography, but also enabled the dispersal of species that, isolated, evolved in a unique way, contributing to the complex biological tapestry of the period. Deep within this scenario, extraordinary events triggered changes of epic proportions. One of these events, which many scholars are still trying to fully understand, involved a drastic change in the oxygen concentration in the oceans. This sudden change was able to eliminate a significant fraction of marine beings, while terrestrial organisms, apparently less affected, continued to adapt to adverse conditions. It was in this context that new predators, such as the plesiosaur, emerged strongly, assuming prominent positions in the marine food chain and redefining predator-prey relationships in an ecosystem in constant ferment. At the same time, the diversity of dinosaurs also included forms that, although not as grand as their better-known cousins, played essential roles in maintaining ecological balance. Small animals, often underestimated due to their modest appearance, developed camouflage and intelligence strategies that allowed them to survive in a world dominated by giants. These small reptiles, similar to rodents in behavior, explored every crevice of habitat, feeding on remains and contributing to the cycling of nutrients in an environment where each resource was fiercely fought for. While the battle for survival raged on both land and sea, evolution also left its mark in surprising ways in the skies. The first birds, still in their rudimentary form, experienced a freedom that transcended the imposition of gravity, paving the way for anatomical innovations that would allow, in future generations, the total conquest of the air. These creatures, which scholars consider true milestones of evolution, gradually developed adaptations such as more refined feathers and light bone structures, allowing them to fly with previously unimaginable agility. At the same time, coexistence with pterosaurs, which had already reached impressive proportions, created competition that stimulated constant innovation and the improvement of flight and feeding strategies. Amid this whirlwind of change, the role of small mammals emerged with increasing importance. Despite living in the shadow of the titans that dominated the Earth, these ancestors of today's rodents, marsupials and primates already showed signs of an adaptation that would prepare them for a future of ascension. Fossils found in different parts of the world reveal that, although discreet and modest in appearance, these beings developed sophisticated reproductive and behavioral systems, which allowed them to survive in adverse conditions and explore niches that would otherwise be inaccessible. This ability to adapt not only highlighted the inherent resilience of life, but also foreshadowed the emergence of a new chapter in Earth's history, where mammals would become protagonists after the extinction of the dinosaurs. However, even with all the innovations and rich biodiversity, the Cretaceous was not immune to events that altered the trajectory of life. The fall of an asteroid, a cataclysmic event that shocked the planet approximately 66 million years ago, represented the final blow to an ecosystem already exhausted by intense disputes and climate change. This impact triggered a series of chain reactions. Dust released into the atmosphere blocked sunlight, interrupting photosynthetic processes and causing abrupt global cooling. During this period of darkness and cold, the dinosaurs, which had previously dominated the Earth, were unable to adapt quickly enough, and their populations went into rapid decline, giving way to a mass extinction that would mark the end of an era. Even given this tragic scenario, the extinction of the dinosaurs did not represent the end of life on Earth, but rather the opening of new opportunities for other species. With the disappearance of large predators and herbivores, ecological niches that were previously fought for violently became vacant, allowing mammals, birds, and other groups to take advantage of these spaces to diversify and occupy new roles. Thus, the very catastrophe that led to the end of dinosaur rule laid the foundation for a new era of evolutionary experimentation, where survivors adapted to post-impact conditions and began a story of renewal and recovery. Looking back, the Cretaceous reveals itself not only as a time of magnificent reptiles and dramatic extinctions, but also as a period full of contradictions and surprises. While dinosaurs basked in their splendor, life at all levels showed surprising resilience, finding ways to flourish even in the most extreme conditions. Evolution, with its inherent capacity to innovate and reinvent itself, demonstrated that regardless of the challenges imposed by the environment, biological diversity would always find a way to persist. This narrative of overcoming and adapting continues to resonate today, inspiring researchers and scientists to unravel the mysteries of a past that, although distant, remains closely linked to our present. Every fossil, every fragment of a plant preserved in ancient rocks is a reminder that the Earth has gone through ages of splendor and decay, and that the cycle of life is by nature a process of constant renewal. The secrets held in the fossil record not only fuel our curiosity about what ancient worlds were like, but also teach us valuable lessons about the importance of adaptation and resilience in the face of inevitable change. At the end of this extensive overview, it is clear that the Cretaceous period was much more than just the age of the dinosaurs. It was a time of evolutionary experimentation, where beings of all sizes and shapes found the opportunity to reinvent themselves in adversity. From the towering predators that patrolled the vast forests and plains to the tiny mammals that hid in the shadows, each organism contributed to a mosaic of life that, although ephemeral, left a lasting legacy. Today, as we study this period, we are invited to reflect on the complexity and beauty of a world where each event, no matter how catastrophic it seemed, paved the way for new possibilities and the continuous transformation of the biosphere. The legacy of the Cretaceous remains a powerful testament to life's ability to adapt, innovate, and above all, persist even in the face of the greatest challenges. In every layer of sediment, in every preserved match, we find stories of struggle, survival, and rebirth that intertwine with the narrative of the Earth itself. This era, which marked the rise and fall of giants, shows us that although eras may seem eternal, they are always subject to sudden and irreversible changes, opening space for the emergence of new forms of life and new stories to be told. Thus, the story of the Cretaceous is ultimately the story of evolution itself, a narrative full of contrasts, challenges, and above all, a celebration of the spirit of adaptation that allowed life to flourish against all odds. Even though dinosaurs have been replaced by new protagonists, the legacy of their existence continues to inspire and challenge our understanding of the resilience of ecosystems and the complexity of evolutionary processes. In each climate change, in each new species that emerges and becomes extinct, lies the memory of a period in which the Earth endlessly reinvented itself, setting the stage for the countless mysteries that we still have to discover. Therefore, as we delve into the depths of the Cretaceous, we are invited not only to admire the giants that once walked the Earth, but also to appreciate the intricate web of life that developed under extreme and ever-changing conditions. It is a legacy that transcends time, revealing that even in moments of greatest adversity, nature finds ways to reinvent itself, demonstrating that the essence of life lies in the ability to adapt and evolve without ceasing. This lesson, drawn from a distant past, continues to illuminate our path and inspire new generations of explorers and scientists to uncover the secrets hidden in the rocks and seas of history. In short, the Cretaceous period was not just a chapter of glories and extinctions, but a complex symphony of transformations that echoes to the present day. Every layer of Earth and every fossil trace is proof that life, in its infinite diversity, will always find a way to persist, reinvent itself, and eventually flourish again. This era was marked by conflicts, adaptations, and above all, by a dynamism that completely transformed the scenario of our planet, leaving lessons that accompany us and remind us of the constant impermanence and renewal inherent to existence. Through this vast and nuanced panorama, we understand that the Cretaceous was much more than the simple age of dinosaurs. It was a time of profound experimentation and transformation, where each species, no matter how small, played a fundamental role in building the future. The study of this period leads us to reflect on the very nature of evolution, an implacable force that, even in the face of seemingly insurmountable catastrophes, always finds ways for renewal and progress. And in recognizing this truth, we are invited to embrace the idea that life in all its forms is an eternal dance of adaptations, challenges, and victories that transcends time and eras.